Hi friends, now we discuss today president. Now we come to this chapter and we will discuss first part. It is mainly come under Article 52 to 78 Part 5 of the Constitution. And we discuss election of the president. Okay, the elected members of the House of President. So here the members of the electoral college consisting. President is not directly elected by the people. Okay, but electoral college it is. And elected members of both the House of Parliament, the elected members of the Legislative Assembly of the state, the elected member of the Legislative Assemblies of the Union Territories of Delhi and Puducherry. Discuss, and here it is expressed that how to legislate. Here elected members of the Legislative House Assembly. Okay, value of vote of an MLA. MLA's vote value, total population size of the state, total population of a state, and total number of elected members in the state Legislative Assembly into 1/1000. And value of a vote of MP, total value of vote of all MLA of all state by total number of elected members of the parliament. Electoral quota, total number of valid votes polled by 1 plus 1. Okay, and we discuss qualification of the president. He should be a citizen of India, and he should have completed 35 years of age. He should be qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha. He should not hold any office of profit under the union government or any state government or any local authority or any other public authority. A sitting president or vice president of the union, the government of any state, of the minister of the union or any state is not deemed to hold any office of profit, hence qualified as a presidential candidate. We discussed it. And our first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Second is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Third is Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. Fourth, Dr. Zakir Hussain. 5, Baby Giri. And 6, Farguddin Ali Ahmed. Okay, so we can see all the things. Pranab Mukherjee, and now come here, now come Kavind. Okay. I'm going to discuss now. Here is 50 electors. Here, president must subscribe by at least 50 electorates, as it preceded proposals, and even 50 electors as seconders. Every candidate has to make the security deposit 15,000 in the Reserve Bank of India. The security of council, the security, okay, has to make a security deposit of 15,000 in the Reserve Bank of India. The security deposits is liable to be forfeited in the case of the candidate. In the case the candidate fails to secure 1/6 of the votes polled. Before 1996, okay, 1997, sorry, it is the number of proposals and seconders or 10th each of the amount of security deposits 2,500. 1997 they were increased to discourage non-serious candidates. Also information of the president. Before entering his office, the president has to make his and subscribe an oath to an oath and obligation. In his oath, the president swears to faithfully execute the office, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the law. Faithfully execute the office, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the law, to devote himself in the service and well-being of the people of India. Okay, conditions of the President's office. The conditions lays down the following conditions of the President's office. He should not be member of either House of Parliament or House of State Legislature. He should not hold any office of profit. He is entitled without a payment of rent. Okay, he is entitled to such emoluments, allowance, and privileges as determined by the president. His emoluments and allowance cannot be diminished during his term of office. Okay, so here important things you can see. Okay, next term impeachment and vacancies. Okay, the term of the president 5-year terms. Okay, he enters his office, and so he can resign any office of his office at any time, addressing the resignation letter to the vice president. Further, he can be removed from the office before completion of a process of impeachment. Okay, he president hold 5 years here, and he also will re-election. He may be elected for any number of times. In USA, a person cannot be elected more than twice as the president. Okay, impeachment. The president can be removed from office by a process of impeachment for violation of the Constitution. However, the Constitution does not define the meaning of the phrase violation of the Constitution. Okay. The impeachment charges can be initiated by either House of Parliament. These charges should be signed by 1/4 member of the House that framed the charges, and a 14 days notice should be given to the Vice President. After the impeachment resolution is passed by a majority of 2/3 of the total membership of that House, it is sent to the other House. He should investigate the charges. The President has the right to appear and to be represented as such investigation. Okay, if the House also sustains the charges and passes to the impeachment resolution, a majority of 2/3 of the total members of the President, then the President stands removed from his office from the date of which the resolution is passed. Thus, an impeachment is a quasi-judicial procedure in the Parliament. In this context, two things should be noted. The nominated members of either House of Parliament can participate in the impeachment of the President. Okay, they do not participate in his election. The elected members of the legislative assemblies of states and the United Territories of Delhi and Puducherry do not participate in the impeachment of the President, so that they participate in his election. Vacancy of the President's office. Vacancy in the President's office. Again, so can occur in any of the following ways: on the expiry of his tenure of 5 years. Okay, so by his resignation, on his removal by the process of impeachment, by his death. Otherwise, for example, when he becomes disqualified for hold office, or when his success election, when his election is declared void, when the vacancy is going to be caused by the expiration of the term of the sitting president, and election is to fill vacancy must be held before the expiration of the term. The powers and functions of the President. The powers and the functions performed by the President can be studied under the following heads: executive powers, legislative powers, financial powers, judicial powers, diplomatic powers, military and emergency powers. Okay, judicial powers are diplomatic and military and emergency. Executive powers, executive power and function of the President are all executive functions. All executive actions of the government of India formally taken in his own name. He can make rules specifying the manner in which the order and other instruments made and executed in his name shall be authenticated. He can make rules specifying the manner in which the orders and other instruments made and executed in his name shall be authenticated. He can make rules for more convenient transaction of business of the Union government and for allocation of the state business among the ministers. He appoints the Prime Minister and the other ministers. They hold office on the pleasure. During his pleasure, he appoints the Attorney General of India and determines his remuneration. The Attorney General holds office during the pleasure of the President. He appoints the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner, the Chairman members of the Union UPSC and the governors of states, the chairmen of the members of the Finance Commission, and so on. He can seek any information relating to the administration, to affairs of the Union, and proposals for legislation from the Prime Minister. He can require the Prime Minister to submit for consideration of the Council of Minister any matter on which the decision has been taken by the minister, but which has not been considered by the council. Okay, he can be appointed as a commission to investigate into the conditions of SC, ST and other backward classes. He can appoint an interstate council to promote interstate or interstate council. He directly administers the union territories through administrators appointed by him. He can declare any area as scheduled area and has powers with respect to the administration of scheduled area and tribal area. Legislative power. The President is an integral part of the Parliament of India. He enjoys the following legislative powers. He can summon and prorogate. Okay, here it will be legislative power. Here he understood that. Here he understood executive power. Here he legislative power. Okay, here important thing, executive power it is important. Okay, he directly administers. He can appoint a commission investigate. Okay, legislative powers. Here he can summon and prorogue the Parliament and dissolve the Lok Sabha. He can also summon a joint sitting of both the House of Parliament, which is presided over the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. He can address the Parliament at the commencement of the session, first session, after the general election and the first session of each year. He can send message. He can send message to the House of the Parliament, whether with respect to a bill pending in the Parliament. Okay, so here is now legislative power. Okay, we now study. Okay, he can appoint any member of the Lok Sabha to preside over its proceedings in the office of both the Senior and Deputy Speaker fell back, and similarly he can also appoint any member of the Rajya Sabha to preside over the proceedings when the office of both the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman fall vacant. He nominates 12 members of the Rajya Sabha from amongst persons having special knowledge and practical experience in literature, science and art and social service. He can nominate two members of the Lok Sabha, and from the Anglo-Indian community he decides to question as to disqualifications of members of the Parliament. He in consultation with the election commission. Okay, his prior recommendation to permission is needed to introduce certain types of bills in the Parliament. For example, the bill involving expenditure for the Consolidated Fund of India, a bill for the alteration of the boundaries of the states and or creation of new states. Okay, when a bill is sent to the President after it has been passed by the Parliament, okay, it can be given his assent to the bill without his office. Withhold his assent to the bill, return the bill. Okay. For reconsideration of the Parliament. However, if the bill is passed again by the Parliament, okay, without amendment, the President has to give his assent to the bill. When a bill passed by the state legislature is reserved by the governors for consideration of the President, and the President can give his assent to the bill, withhold his assent to the bill, and direct the governor to return the bill if it is not a money bill. For the recognition of the state legislature, it should be noted here that it is not obligatory for the President to give his assent to even if the bill is again passed by the state legislature and sent again to him for his consideration. He can promulgate ordinance when the Parliament is not in session. This ordinance must be approved by the Parliament within 6 weeks for the reassembly. He can also withdraw an ordinance at any time he lets the reports of CSG and UPSC Finance Commission and others before the Parliament. He can make regulations for peace, progress and good government of the Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar Haveli. The President can legislate by making regulation but only when the Assembly is suspended or dissolved. Financial powers. Okay, the financial powers and functions of the President of money will then be introduced in the Parliament with the prior recommendation. He causes to the late before the Parliament at the annual financial statement that the Union budget no demand for the grant can be made except on the recommendation. He can make advances out of the contingency fund of India to meet any unforeseen expenditure. He constitutes the Finance Commission after every 5 years to recommend the distribution of revenue between the states and the center and the states. The judicial powers and functions of the President are he appointed the Chief Justice and the Judge of the Supreme Court and the High Court. Okay, he can seek advice to the Supreme Court or any of the question or any question of the law or fact. However, the advice tendered by the Supreme Court is not binding on the President. He can grant pardon, reprieve, respite, and remission or punishment, suspend, remit, or commute the sentence of any person convicted of any offence. In all cases where the punishment of sentences is by court martial, in all cases where the punishment of sentence is for an offence against the Union law, and in all cases where the sentence is a sentence of death. Diplomatic powers, the international treaties and agreements are negotiated and concluded on behalf of the President. They are subjected to the approval of the Parliament. Diplomatic, the international treaties and agreements are negotiated and concluded on behalf of the President. Okay. Military, he is the supreme commander of the defence force of India. In the capacity, he is appointed as chiefs of the army, the navy, and the air force. And he can declare war or concede peace, subject to the approval of the Parliament. Emergency powers. Okay, article here the normal powers of the mentioned above. The Constitution confers extraordinary power to the President to deal with the following three types of emergencies: national emergency, Article 352, President's rule, 356 and 365, and financial emergency 360. And now veto power of the President. Veto power. Okay, he will pass by the Parliament. He can become an act only if it refers to the assent of the President. When such bill is presented to the President, okay, for the assent to he has three alternatives. Under Article 111 of the Constitution, he may give his assent to the bill, he may withhold his assent to the bill, he may return to the bill. Okay, it is not remarkable if you are recommended consideration of the Parliament. However, if the bill is passed by the Parliament with or without amendments and again presented to the President, the President must give his assent to the bill. Thus the President has the true veto power over the bills passed by the Parliament. That is, he can withhold his assent to the bill. The sub-object of conferring this power on the President is twofold: to prevent hasty and ill-considered legislation of the Parliament, to prevent a legislation which may be unconstitutional. The veto power enjoyed by the executive in modern states can be classified into the following four types: absolute veto, that is withholding of assent to the bill passed by the legislature; qualified veto, which can be overridden by the legislature which a higher majority; suspended veto, which can be overridden by the legislature with an ordinary majority; pocket veto, that is taken no action on the bill passed by the legislature. Of the above four, the absolute veto, withholding his assent to the bill passed by the legislature; qualified veto, overridden by the legislature with a higher majority; suspensive veto, which can be overridden by the legislature with the ordinary majority; pocket veto, that is taking no action to the bill on the bill passed by the legislature. So here you can see all the things. Okay, important here. The above four, the President of India is vested with three: absolute, suspended, and pocket veto. There is no qualified veto in the case of the Indian President. It is possessed by the American President. The three vetoes of the President of India we explained below. Okay, absolute veto it is. Okay, with regard to the private member bills. Okay, members of Parliament is not a minister. Okay, with respect to the government, with respect government bills, when the cabinet resigns on the basis of the bill, but before the assent by the President, and the new cabinet advises the President not to give his assent to such bill. So here, okay, 1954, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, okay, withheld his assent to the PPSU appropriation bill passed by the Parliament when the President's rule was operation. The state PPSU, the bill was presented by the President, rules revoked. 1991, President R. Venkataraman withheld his assent to the salary allowance and pensions of members of the Parliament. A bill. Okay, suspensive veto. It is the President exercised this veto with when he returns a bill for reconciliation of the parliament. However, if the bill is first again by the parliament with or without amendment and again presented to the president, it is obligatory for the president to give his assent to the bill. This means that the presidential veto is overridden by a repassage of the bill by the same ordinary majority. As mentioned earlier, the president does not possess this veto in this case. Money bill. Okay, the president can either give his assent to the money bill or withhold his assent to the money bill, but cannot return to for the reconsideration of the parliament. Normally, the president gives his assent to the money bill as it is introduced in the parliament with his previous permission. Pocket veto. So it is long chapter. Okay, you can see. Okay, so is I think come to the end. So it's a very long chapter now. You can see. Okay, it's not long now. I think like 10 chapters. Okay, pocket veto. In this case, the president neither ratifies nor rejects nor returns to the bill, but simply keeps in the bills pending of the indefinite period. Okay, I am to water drinking. Okay, so here this power of the president is not to take on any action, either positive or negative, on the bill. If known as the pocket veto, the president can exercise this veto power as the constitution does not prescribe any time limit within which he has to take the decision with respect to a bill represented to him for rejection. In USA, on the one hand, the president has to return the bill for reconsideration within 10 days. Hence, it is remarked that the pocket of the Indian president is bigger than the American president. In 1986, President Jail Singh exercises the pocket veto with respect to the Indian Post Office bill. The bill passed by the Rajiv Gandhi government imposed restrictions on freedom of press, and hence was widely criticized. After 3 years, in 1989, the next president, R. Venkataraman, sent the bill back for reconsideration, but the new National Front government decided to drop the bill. Okay, it should be noted that here that the president has no veto power in respect of the constitutional amendment bill. In 24th Constitutional Amendment Act 1971 made it obligatory for the president to give his assent to the constitutional amendment bill. Presidential veto and state legislature. Now we discuss. When a bill passed by the state legislature, it's presented to the governor for his assent. He has 4 alternatives. Okay, in Article 200 of the Constitution, he may give his assent to the bill, he may withhold his assent to the bill, and he may return the bill for reconsideration of the state legislature. He may reserve the bill for the reconsideration of the president. When a bill is reserved by the governor for the consideration of the president, the president has 3 alternatives. Okay, Article 201. Okay, when a bill reserved by the governor, the bill passed by the legislature, the governor is assent. Okay, assent the bill, addition to the bill, he may withhold, give his assent, withhold it, and return to the bill, and he reserve one bill. Okay, he gave his assent to the bill, and he withhold it, and he may direct to the governor to return the bill. Okay, for the reconsideration of the state legislature. If the bill is passed again by the state legislature with or without amendments and presented again to the president for his assent, the president is not bound to give his assent to the bill. This means that the state legislature cannot be override the veto power of the president. Further, the constitution has not prescribed any time limit within which the president has to take a decision with regard to the bill reserved by the governor. Okay, for his consideration. Hence, the president can exercise the pocket veto in respect to the state legislature also. Here, with regard to central legislation and state legislation, with regard to ordinary bill can be ratified, can be rejected, can be returned. Here can be rejected state legislation. Okay, central legislation. Okay, and state legislation can be ratified, can be rejected, can be returned. And with regard to money bill can be ratified, can be rejected, but cannot be returned, can be rejected, but cannot be returned. Okay. With regard to constitutional amendment bill can only be ratified. Okay, it is important. With regard to constitutional amendment bill, it can only be ratified, but that is cannot be rejected or returned. It is central and state. The constitutional amendment bill cannot be introduced in the state legislature. Here now we discuss ordinance making power of the president. Okay. So here his ordinance making power is co-extensive as regard to all matters, okay, except duration, with the law making powers of the parliament. This has two implications. An ordinance can be issued only on those subjects on which the parliament can make laws. An ordinance is subject to the same constitutional limitations as an act of the parliament. Hence an ordinance cannot abridge to take any of the fundamental rights. If an ordinance issued by the president during the recess of the parliament must be laid before both the House of Parliament when that resembles. So here you can see in the Supreme Court in the DC Wadhwa case 1987 is highly relevant. There is the Supreme Court regarding the promulgation of the ordinance by the president. Okay, in 1981, here in the case of the court co-appointed between 1967 to 1981, the governor of Bihar promulgated 256 ordinances and all these were kept in force for periods ranging from 1 to 15 years. By reformulgation from time to time, the court ruled the successive reformulgation of ordinance with the same text without any attempt to get the bills passed by the assembly would amount to violation of the constitution. Okay, pardoning power of the president. Article 72 of the constitution empowers the president has to grant pardons to president, the person who will have been tried and convicted of any offence, or in all cases where the punishment of sentence is for an offence against Indian law. Punishment of sentence is by a court martial, and sentence is a sentence of death. To keep the door open if are correcting judicial error in the operation of law. To offer relief from the sentence with the president regard to unduly harsh. The pardoning power of the president includes the following: pardon, it removes both sentence of the conviction of the completely absolute and convict from all the sentence or from all sentence, punishment and commutation. It denotes the substitution of one form of punishment for a later form. For example, a death sentence may be commuted to rigorous imprisonment, which in turn may be commuted to a single imprisonment. Remission, respite and deprive. Here you can study. Okay, under Article 161 of the Constitution, the governor of the state also possesses the pardoning power. Okay, but the pardoning power of the governor differs from that of the president following two aspects. The president can pardon sentence inflicted by court martial, military courts, while the governor cannot. The president can pardon the death sentence, while governor cannot. Even if a state law prescribes death sentence, the power to grant pardon lies with the president, who is not the governor. Where the governor can suspend, remand, or commute of the death sentence. In other words, both the governor and the president have concurrent power in respect to the suspension, remission, and commutation of death sentence. The Supreme Court examined the pardoning power of the president under different cases and laid down the following principle: the petitioner for mercy has no right to an oral hearing by the president. Okay, the president can examine the evidence after take a view different from the view taken by the court. The power is to be exercised by the president on the advice of the Union Cabinet. Okay, the president is not bound to give reasons for his order. The president can afford relief for not only from the sentence of that he regards as a unheard harsh, but also from an evident mistake. There is no need for the Supreme Court to lay down specific guidelines for the exercise of the powers of the president. The exercise of the powers by the president is not subject to judicial review, except where the presidential decision is arbitrary, irrational, malified, or discretionary. If the earlier for this petition for mercy has been rejected by the president, stay cannot be obtained by filing another petition. Constitutional provision of the president. Okay, Dr. B. R. Ambedkar summed up to the true position of the president. President in the following way: in the Constitution, Indian Constitution, there is placed at the head of the Union of the states. Okay, head of the head, Indian head. Okay, Indian function who is called President of the Union. The title of the functionary remains of the President of the United States. Okay, here you can see the Constitution of India provides the parliamentary form of government. Consequently, the President has been made only a nominal executive, the real executive being the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. In other words, the President has to exercise his power and function with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. In estimating the constitutional provision of the president, the particular reference has to be made to the provisions of Article 53, Article 74, and Article 75. This, the executive power of the Union, shall be vested in the president and shall be exercised by him either directly or through office subordinate to him. In accordance with the Constitution, Article 53, there shall be a Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at the head to and advice to the President, who shall be in the exercise of his function and act in accordance with such advice. Article 74, the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible. The Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Article 75, the provision is to form a foundation of parliament system of government. Article the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1975, 76 enacted the Indira Gandhi government made the president bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. The 44th Amendment Act of 1978, by the Janata Party government headed by the Morarji Desai, authorized the president to require the Council of Ministers to reconsider such advice as generally or otherwise. However, he shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. In other words, the President may return a matter once for reconsideration of his ministers, but the reconsidered advice shall be binding. In October 1957, the Cabinet recommended President R. K. Narayan to impose President's rule in Article 1056. Okay, 1056. Throughout this, the President returned in matter recommendation of the Cabinet. In the BJP-led government under the Kalyan Singh was set again in September 1998. President K. R. Narayan returned to a recommendation of the Cabinet that showed the imposition of the President's rule in Bihar. Okay, so here you can see the President can act on his discretion, that is without the advice of the Minister under the following situation: appointment of a Prime Minister when no party has a clear majority in the Lok Sabha, or when the Prime Minister in office dies suddenly. Okay, and there is no obvious successor, otherwise no party. Okay, appointment of the Prime Minister when nobody has clear majority in the Lok Sabha. So dismissal of the Council of Ministers when it cannot prove the for confidence of the Lok Sabha, dissolution of the Lok Sabha if the Council of Ministers has lost its majority. So here articles related to President. So you can see it. So here Article 52, the President of India. 53, executive power of the Indian election of the President. 54, 55, manner of the election of the President. 56, term of office of the President. 57, eligibility for re-election. 58, qualification for election of the President or conditions of President office. Okay. 60, oath or permission by the President. 61, procedure for impeachment of the President. Okay, 62, time of holding. Okay, election to fill vacancy in his office of President. 65, Vice President to act President or to discharge his function. 71, matters relating to election of the President. 72, powers of President to grant pardons and to suspend, remit, or commit sentence of in certain cases. Okay, and Council 74 Council of Ministers and an advice of the President. 75 other provisions as to ministers like appointment terms, salaries, etc. 76 Attorney General of India. 77 Conduct of business of the Government of India. Okay, 78 duties of Prime Minister in respect to furnishing to information or to the President. 85 sessions of Parliament, prorogation and dissolution. 111% to bill passed by the Parliament. Okay, 112 Indian budget. Okay, annual financial statements. 123 power of President to promulgate ordinance. 143 power of President to consult with the Supreme Court. So thank you, friends.